Welcome to today's video. We have some very intense news to get through and to analyze. You're in the right spot to find out what's happening. We're going to take a look at what has happened in South Korea, what appears to be one of the biggest political blunders in modern history, at least recent modern history. And I'm going to talk about what is happening there and what I think is going to happen next. This will be a very interesting video. I encourage you to stick around until the end. Before we get started, please like the video and write a comment. Please subscribe to the channel so you can get more news. Take a look at things that the media is not telling you. And yes, last night, the president, Yoon Yeol, Mr. Yoon, has declared martial law. It was much of a surprise, and it seems like nobody knew it was coming. And I guess his defense minister knew it was coming, and it seemed like the military, they were right on spot. Tanks were rolling, and military was showing up at the parliament. The parliament had to ratify it, and I think there's 300 members in their parliament, which is controlled by Mr. Yoon's opposition. Mr. Yoon said that his country was under threat by North Koreans. Yeah, it's always a boogeyman. I think the correct translation from Korean was that the parliament didn't want to go along with Mr. Yoon's budget, and they wanted to find out about some of the scandals that Mr. Yoon was involved in. I don't think it had anything to do with their boogeymen, but that's just my interpretation. So Mr. Yoon decides to declare martial law and try to become a military dictator. It doesn't seem like it worked out very well. His party didn't even agree with him, and the opposition certainly didn't agree. The parliament had to ratify it. Yes, there were 190 out of the 300 members of parliament inside the parliament building, and all of them voted no. Protests broke out. People in Seoul immediately took to the streets, even though I guess it was around 11 p.m., almost like midnight. And yeah, they definitely let their politicians know that, no, we're not going to go along with this. This is not cool. And unlike protests that we see in Georgia, where there's a color revolution trying to happen at the moment, we do have a video about that. And I recently saw a post of Cookie Newland clones. Yeah, Victoria Newland clones. They're over there handing out cookies to the protesters. That's a different topic. But in Korea, we see a lot of signs, a lot of people protesting. And yeah, all the signs are in Korean. We don't see EU flags. We don't see American flags. We see South Korean flags. Yeah, it looks pretty organic to me. Does not have the warning signs that we see over in Georgia. Like I said, the conflicts are related. Yeah, this looks like it was definitely a shock, and nobody was well prepared. So it has turned out to be quite a blunder. Washington, D.C., they are acting like they don't know what was going on. President Biden said he had no idea. Well, yeah, he probably doesn't. He doesn't even have any idea what he had for breakfast 10 minutes before that question. So, yeah, I guess he was being honest, but he probably didn't know. But did Anthony Blinken and all those neocons know? Yeah, it's hard to know. But it seemed like that Yoon Suk Yeol would not have acted if he didn't think the military would back him up. And it appears that the military, they certainly did not back him up. The military did not go and arrest anyone. I guess one of the generals said it's time to shut down the parliament, shut down all the media, and called for a curfew. But there were so many people out. When you have a conscript army, yes, in South Korea, you have compulsory service, and people in the military just didn't want to shoot at civilians. This is probably a good thing for the South Korean people that their military took their side, took the side of the parliament, and took the side of the Constitution. President Yoon, he is well backed up by Washington, though. However, it seems like now they're saying that President Yoon will face impeachment. He will probably not survive politically. It was a very big blunder, and it doesn't seem like it was well thought out. So we have an article here from Al Jazeera. Said, could Yoon face impeachment now? Group of lawmakers from opposition parties said they plan to introduce a bill to impeach Yoon on Wednesday. That's today, with the vote expected in 72 hours. Yeah, they're going to move quickly. They want to get rid of this guy. And we're going to hope that the next guy is a little bit better. South Korea has a very interesting history They basically were a military dictatorship from 1948 to 1980, and that kind of ended with the massacre at Gwangju. That was the last time they declared martial law, and the massacre at Gwangju, where they massacred a bunch of protesters in the city of Gwangju, where they eventually became more democratic. However, all of their presidents have had some terrible fates. I think only one of them, the previous one, Moon Jae-in, has actually not had a terrible fate yet. There's been a few that have been impeached, a couple of them that have been assassinated, a few of them been imprisoned. As being a president of South Korea seems like a dangerous job, and yeah, it looks like here that Yoon is going to be impeached. It says that they need 2/3 of the lawmakers to vote for it. Considering that the president's party did not back him up, they might try to cut their losses. There will be an election within 60 days of the impeachment, and they might just try to hope that they can win the election with a different candidate. Maybe would also be backed by Washington. I think the Democratic Party, who is the majority, they are still somewhat backed by Washington, but they're a little bit more independent. They do still want to have like the U.S. military and some of these things, but they're not quite as excited about all the military drills and stuff that have been going on between the U.S., Japan, and South Korea. And I guess they just try to have less of it, try to be a little bit less provocative, and they're a little bit more diplomatic with their neighbors. They do have pretty good relations with China as well, and that has usually come from the Democratic Party. They're called the Democratic Party. I don't know if they're related to the Democratic Party in the U.S. I think it just means democracy. They call themselves Minjudong in Korean, so that means the Democratic Party. Yoon's party is the People Power Party, and like I said, many of the People Power Party also strongly oppose the martial law. It seems quite likely that they will either force him to resign or they'll just vote with the opposition to get rid of him. Yeah, that was a very big blunder there. Yeah, he seems like he didn't think about it clearly. He just thought I could declare martial law and take control of the country and be the next dictator. Yeah, he tried. It definitely failed. And we have to give a shout out to the Korean military and the citizens of Seoul who really stood up for their country, as well as the lawmakers who went in and vote. They held the vote and they stood their ground. Even saw like videos of some of them spraying fire extinguishers at the military. I thought that was funny. And the military didn't really look like they wanted to have a fight. They were just kind of there because they were told to be there. That's what it looks like when you watch the videos. Seem like that they really do actually care about their citizens and their constitution, even if they're somewhat of a vassal of the U.S. No, I don't think a lot of them want to be, especially like I said, when you have a military and every man is required to serve in the military when they turn, I think it's the age of 20. They have to do 2.5 years of service in South Korea. And I spent time in South Korea, and I know that many people, they try to find ways out of it. There's even a thing, I think it's called mukbang. You have people who just purposely go and overeat. A lot of them make videos, and you probably find them on YouTube. They overeat, and they try to become fat, so they don't have to serve in the military. You can see it in the news internationally sometimes. It is quite interesting, some of the lengths that some of these people go to get out of the military. And the other thing about President Yoon, like I said, was his scandals. His wife was under investigation. His popularity rating was below 20%, which is quite normal for South Korean presidents. I think they've all been between like 10 to 20%. They've just never been very popular. Unlike Japan, there always seems to be a lot of protests going on in Seoul. Usually they're just calm and peaceful. People holding up signs, maybe protesting against the U.S. military being there. And they're friendly to tourists. Didn't have a problem. They just don't like their government, and they're not afraid to let their government know. And that has been the case in South Korea for, looks like, at least 50, 60 years. So not much has changed there. If we go on, it says if the impeachment is voted on and approved, a trial will be held before the Constitutional Court, a 9-member body that oversees South Korea's government branches. 6 of the court's members vote to uphold the impeachment. The president will be removed from office. From what I'm reading, a lot of the experts are saying that President Yoon is politically toast. Washington might try to save him, but they won't be able to. They might not even bother. It looks like he has, as I said, made a historical blunder. This is a big blunder and a big loss for the deep state, so to say. It looks like they're saying here, Yoon's staff offered to resign in mass. We'll come over to Russia today. Let's see what the Russians are saying. It says the South Korean defense minister resigns. He was the one, also was pushing for the martial law. Apparently some of the other cabinet members said they didn't even know it was going to happen. I don't know if that's true or not, or if they were just trying to run away. He has fessed up to it. Mr. Kim Jong-hyun here, he has at least fessed up to it, and he did resign. And it says, I take responsibility for all matters related to martial law and have tendered my resignation to the president, Kim said. Kim is believed to be the one who advised President Yoon Suk-yeol to declare martial law, according to Yonhap news agency. I also saw the Russian Foreign Ministry troll the South Koreans, which I think is even more funny. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharozhia called Seoul's unpredictable. She said North Korea has every reason to be wary of Seoul, and I think she was trolling the European Union because they were talking about sanctions on Georgia. So then she's saying, I think I put sanctions on South Korea too, because the president tried to run a coup, basically. Yeah, that was kind of funny, to be honest. Let's see what else she has to say. So she said, Zakharova, I don't think I said her name right, in my opinion, may have understood why the DPRK, North Korea, is so concerned over its security. Yeah, who knows what would have happened had the martial law had actually succeeded, and some of the generals would have followed the president. Could have been a civil war, right? People coming on the streets, and the parliament members refusing to leave the parliament. What if some of them had been arrested, and other people in the military feeling, especially the younger conscripts, either got scared, maybe they tried to run away, maybe they tried to go to China or Japan, maybe they can get a boat or a flight out quickly, or maybe they tried to protect civilians. And yeah, that's how civil wars began. It was a really dangerous decision by President Yoon. So she says it's because, she's talking about North Korea's concerns, it's because they see that in a couple of hours, South Korea can morph from a professed democracy into absolute chaos with tanks on the street, storming of parliament, popular confrontation, and some brute force tactics. Yeah, I guess there might have been some actual fighting, but it doesn't seem like there was as much. Definitely could have been. She's definitely got a point there, and you never know what the deep state is up to. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write a comment. What do you think is happening in South Korea? What do you think might happen next? In conclusion about South Korea, it does seem like a win for the Korean Peninsula, Korean people. I think they're pretty brave, right? And they stood up, especially people in Seoul. And I think that's a really good thing. Someone who spent quite a bit of time in Seoul and have lived in other parts of South Korea, I think they have a very interesting and impressive work ethic, a very interesting culture, and I'm sure it's the same in North Korea. Yeah, it's just a political dispute, and it's good that the people can see through it. People generally want to have peace no matter where you go in the world, and I don't think that's any different in North or South Korea. I do think that the president is going to be impeached. He may actually end up just resigning, which probably would be a little bit of a better end than being impeached. The one before him, like I said, was the only one who hasn't had a bad ending. He replaced a president who was impeached. I want to thank you for watching, and please like the video, share it with your friends. Hope to see you again in the very next video.